we will have a fika. Fika is a Swedish coffee break. So please join me in the kitchen. Now I'm preparing for it because I have invited some friends. So the famous, at least in Sweden, very famous Kanelbullar, that is the bread you have for a coffee break. So what I first do when I'm doing this bread, I have 150 grams of butter and I melt it on the stove, so I put it on here to have some heat on. The butter is melting here, and then I add half a liter of milk into the butter so they are mixed, and I mix it a bit. So first step is ready. So now we have the bowl here. I have the flour all prepared. It's about 1.5 liter of flour, white flour. I also have some more brown flour, and it's flour, wheat flour, that is from a windmill very close to my farm, and they have produced this flour in a very traditional way. And here I have 50 grains of yeast. I add the yeast. That's 50 grains of yeast. Mix it a bit. And as this is a sweet bread for coffee, also have some just ordinary sugar. About 1 cup of sugar. Depending on what you prefer, you can add some spices in here. The traditional one is cardamom. I'm not very good in measuring things, so I just do it like this. So it's about 1 teaspoon perhaps. I like cardamom. And also some salt, about half a teaspoon. I'm very happy to have my own chicken. So I go out into the chicken house and collect my own eggs. And this is also something I'm very happy about. So this is really ecological. I just mix it a little, and then we'll check if the butter and if the milk is ready. And how do you do that? Well, I do it in the informal way. So I just put my hand down in here, just one finger. And if this butter and milk has about the same temperature as your own body, it's okay. You add it to the flour, to the egg, the spices, the yeast, all the rest of it. I think this is quite good for your arm muscles too. The good thing with doing this by hand, I think, is that it's easier for you to find the right consistency in the dough. It helps the dough to rise. So if you look at this, I actually think that this is quite a good consistency. It feels really good. And now the dough needs to rest for being able to rise. And that will be taken about 45 minutes. When you put it in a warm plate, you can cover it with a towel. I'm very happy because I have a towel that my mother embroidered for me. She also put the date in it. So I'm very proud about that. So I just leave it here in the kitchen. 45 minutes has gone. So let us have a look at the dough. Drum, drum. Have a look. It has risen. I think I will start by just mix it a bit again. Very easy. You see it's coming down again, but that's okay. It's supposed to do so. As you understand, I like traditional things. Now this is very traditional in Sweden. I will add some more flour so the dough won't stuck on the surface. Like this. And just pull it out. See, it's coming out. So you see the dough is in one piece, and not only with your hands, you need some help with this one. It will be around, might it be, half a centimeter perhaps. And now for the filling, because this is a sweet bread for the coffee break, and we need some nice filling in it. And what could that be? Well, again, your choice. The traditional choice is butter. Again, I do it in a very simple way. I use this, which I know is very Swedish, but you see, I took the butter straight from the fridge, so it's quite stiff. So I can put it out like that. And if you don't have tools like this, just take a knife, or if you want to use soft butter, you can do that too, and just spread it all over the dough. It's not that important that every piece is covered the same way. And then sugar, spices, cinnamon for example. I like cinnamon. So just add some cinnamon on top of it, as much as you prefer. Sugar. You can use white sugar, you can use brown sugar. And then you fold it together. And now I'm going to use the rolling pin again. So you see, when I'm doing this, the filling will be spread all over in a nice and smooth way. And now comes the creative part, because now we are going to do the bread from this dough. And I use, as usual, something very traditional, something very old. I think it's from my grandmother actually. You can use a knife if you prefer that, doesn't really matter. I will cut the dough into pieces. When we are making slices out of this dough, I will put it in a very special place. I'll show you. The paper cups where I will put the bread into. And now to the creative part. How would you like to do that? You can do it in many different ways. And I do it in my way, of course. And that is quite a simple way actually. So I just cut pieces of the bread and I roll it, twist it, perhaps you say, and then put it in the paper cup. And you do the same thing with the rest of the dough. Now when you are making such a lot of nice kanelbullar, if you and your guest don't eat everything at the same time, which might happen because I think you will love them, then you can put them in the freeze and keep them there for several months. And just take the amount that you need for one coffee break out from the freeze, put it in the microwave for just, you know, a couple of minutes, 1 minute each kanelbullar, and you will have one nice fresh bread. And before this, you are doing this, you put on the oven. I usually have 250 Celsius degrees. So the oven will be ready when you are ready with all the paper cups. Now I take this away. For we have the last step before taking the bread into the oven. and that means we are going to cover the bread with some sugar. And to make the sugar stay on the bread, we put some egg on it first. So, again, from my chicken house, and I just blend it like this. You know, it's quite nice with my eggs, I think, because my chicken, they go outside during the day, and that means that you get more yellow egg yolks. The purpose of it is to let the sugar remain on the bread when you bake it. And it also gives the bread another surface, more brown and more light, and it looks very nice and tastes nice too. The topping, what is that? I prefer something very Swedish, I think it is. In Swedish, or when I translate it from Swedish, it is pearl sugar. It really looks like small tiny pearls, and I use this on top of the bread because it's very traditional. If you don't find that, you can use just ordinary sugar in brown or white, or you can use chopped almonds or other nuts. The last step, the oven. And I have preheated the oven. It's almost 250 Celsius degrees and about 480 Fahrenheit. And you might think that that is quite hot, and it is, because you need this for this kind of bread. It's only about 10 minutes in the oven. You have to check after 10 minutes. Perhaps you need some more minutes. But you need the heat because you want the surface of the bread. So make it nice and light brown. So believe me, it's the right temperature. So now we're waiting for the bread to be ready in about 10 minutes. So meanwhile, I will prepare the coffee. Put the heat on. Be careful so you won't get coffee all over the stove. Okay, now is the moment. And I wish you could feel the smell too, because it smells from freshly baked bread. And you see, it's really lovely. It has the right color on top, and you see the brown bread and the white pearl sugar.